بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله حق قدره ومقدار العظيم. Can you please listen a little bit? Thank you. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم آمين. We went through the section of nawaqid al-wudu yesterday, the things which nullify wudu, and the author told us that there are direct nullifiers and causes. And the direct nullifiers, he mentioned them: al-bawl wal-gha'if wal-rih wal-madhy wal-wadhy, urination, defecation, passing wind, madhy, and wadhy. And the causes were النوم الثقيل والإغماء والسكر والجنون والقبلة ولمس المرأة إن قصد اللذة أو وجدها ومس الذكر بباطن الكف أو بباطن الأصابع, heavy sleep, unconsciousness, intoxication, insanity, and lips to lips kissing, touching a woman if pleasure was intended or found. And I did two last things. These are things which scholars have differences. And he said touching the private part, whether inside or outside of the hand and fingers, meaning if it is this part of the hand or any other part of the body touches the private part, it doesn't nullify the wudu. And then the author said, وَمَنْ شَكَّ فِي حَدَثٍ وَجَبَ عَلَيْهِ الْوُضُوءُ إِلَّا أَنْ يَكُونَ مُوَسْوَسًا. If a person has a doubt about a hadath, a person makes wudu and now hello guys, you're not here for this. If you really want to converse, you can stay out of the masjid, outside the masjid. All right? Thank you. He says, if a person has a doubt about a hadath is one of the things he mentioned that nullifies wudu directly. He must perform wudu. He must perform wudu. This is unless he has constant doubts, meaning waswasa, in which case he does not have to do anything. Again, this is also a mas'ala that Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi has difference from the Jumhur. The Jumhur, they go by this principle which says al-yaqinu la yazulu bi-shak, that certainty cannot be removed by doubt. So if a person knows that he has wudu, and then he starts having shak, he doubts about whether hadath occurs or no, whether did I go to the bathroom, yes or no, until he is certain that he did really go to the bathroom, then his wudu is still valid according to the Jumhur. Why? Because certainty cannot be removed by doubt. The wudu is certain, and the hadath, which is the nullifier of the wudu, is in a state of doubt. So he's doubting. But Imam Malik says, I also use the same principle to say that this wudu cannot make salah. Why? Because al-yaqin la yazulu bi-shak. Certainty cannot be removed by doubt. What is certain here? He says that the fact that salah is an obligation upon you is certain. All of us know that salah is an obligation upon the mukallaf, upon the believer. So for salah, which is certainty, to be removed from its obligation upon me, it has to be removed by a certain wudu. And this wudu now is instead of doubt. So I'm doubting whether I would have wudu now or no. He says, because of that I cannot make salah. I cannot remove the certainty of salah from me with a doubtful wudu. So that's why the author says, وَمَنْ شَكَّ فِي حَدَثٍ وَجَبَ عَلَيْهِ الْوُضُوء. If a person makes wudu and later on he has doubt whether he still has wudu or he has his wudu broken, he sees that the wudu is broken because of that shak. He says, except what? Except if a person has constant doubt. Constant doubt. For example, this happens to him, today, tomorrow, after tomorrow. The best medicine of doubt or constant doubt or waswasa is to abandon, is to leave it. Because shaitan, when he wants to ruin the Muslims or the believer's life, he starts with his tahara. You know, he makes you have shak whether you have najasa on your clothes and this and this. When you experience this as a waswasa, he says, abandon it, leave it. Don't worry about it. You have people sometimes when they pray, they have problem knowing how many rak'ah they do, how many, you know. So he says the medicine for this is to not consider it. Then he says, وَيَجِبُ عَلَيْهِ غَسْلُ الذَّكَرِ كُلِّهِ مِنَ الْمَذِي وَلَا يَغْسِلُ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ. One must wash the entire private part if he experiences madhi, but does not have to wash the testicles. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said to the person who asked him, that was Miqdad on behalf of Sayyidina Ali, يَغْسِلُ ذَكَرَهُ. Well, he has to wash his private part and make wudu. And then he tells us what madhi is. He says, وَالْمَذِي هُوَ الْمَاءُ الْخَارِجُ عِنْدَ الشَّهْوَةِ الصُّغْرَى بِتَفَكُّرٍ أَوْ نَظَرٍ أَوْ غَيْرِهِ. Madhi is the emission that occurs when one has minor pleasure by thinking, looking, or the like. And madhi, actually he did not describe the madhi. He tells us when the madhi comes out. Madhi is a white, thick liquid that comes from a person when they experience minor pleasure through thinking, looking, or something that is like those things, he says. And then he says, فَصْلٌ لَا يَحِلُّ لِغَيْرِ الْمُتَوَضِّئِ صَلَاةٌ وَلَا طَوَافٌ وَلَا مَسُّ نُسْخَةِ الْقُرْآنِ الْعَظِيمِ وَلَا جِلْدِهَا لَا بِيَدِهِ وَلَا بِعُودٍ وَنَحْوِهِ إِلَّا الْجُزْءَ مِنْهَا الْمُتَعَلَّمَ فِيهِ. It is not permissible for one who does not have wudu to pray. Because one of the conditions of prayer is to have wudu. La salata liman la taharata lahu. So one cannot pray without wudu. Number two, perform tawaf. It is not permissible for one who does not have wudu to perform tawaf, meaning circling the around the Kaaba. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ says tawaf is just like salah. But except that talking is permitted during tawaf. So if tawaf is like salah, then tawaf requires what salah requires. And it's not permissible for one who does not have wudu to touch a copy of the Quran or its cover with his hand, a stick, or the like. One has no wudu, he is forbidden. It is not permissible for him to touch the Quran. The nuskha, the copy, you can't. Why? Because you have no wudu. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, لا يمسه إلا المطهرون. And the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يمس القرآن إلا طاهرون. No one has the right to touch the Quran except for those who have wudu, for those who are pure or purified. And as he said, this is with the exception of a portion of the Quran that he is studying from. Let's say a person who's a student of knowledge, the juz that he uses to study, to memorize, he can utilize it even if he doesn't have wudu, because if we require him to have wudu all the time, it becomes difficult. And the principle in Sharia is al-mashaqqatu tajlibu at-taysira. Whenever it's difficult, it becomes easy. مهما تعسر تيسر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر يريد الله أن يخفف عنكم. نعم. And then he says, and it is not permissible for him ولا مس لوح القرآن ولا مس لوح القرآن العظيم على غير الوضوء إلا لمتعلم فيه أو معلم يصححه. نعم. It is not permissible for one who has no wudu to touch a tablet. Lawh. There was a time we used to have this lawh. You know, they write for you and then you memorize and then it is erased or washed and the teacher write for you again. That lawh that has the Quran written on it, unless one is a student or a teacher that is correcting him. The student or the teacher that corrects the student can touch the lawh without wudu. Of course, here we have to know something. When we say touching the Quran or the Mus'haf, we mean the Quran that is written in Arabic. But if it is a translation or is a commentary of the Quran, even if it is a full translation, it is not the translation of the Quran. It's not a commentary of the Quran. It is a translation of the meaning of the Quran. So that's not considered as the Quran. One can touch it or utilize it. But it's better if one could make wudu have wudu to just show respect to the Quran. And he said, وَالصَّبِيُّ فِي مَسِّ الْقُرْآنِ كَالْكَبِيرِ وَالْإِثْمُ عَلَى مُنَاوِلِهِ لَهُ. A child, in regards to the rules of touching the Quran, is the same as the adult. But the sin would be on the one who allowed the child to touch it. Because the child doesn't have sin. He's not an adult yet. So if I, as an adult, tell my child, go get me that Quran, or take this Quran and put it on the sea, or I neglectfully put the Quran somewhere in the reach that the child can reach, it's my sin as an adult. So the Quran is something that we really have to magnify and respect. And then he finishes this section by saying, وَمَنْ صَلَّى بِغَيْرِ وُضُوءٍ عَامِدًا فَهُوَ كَافِرٌ وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Whoever intentionally prays without wudu is a kafir, is a non-believer. And we seek refuge in Allah from this. But this requires, or we should clarify this. If a person makes salah knowing that wudu is an obligation, but he didn't make the wudu, he is not a kafir, but he is a fasiq. He is a rebel. He did a major sin because he made salah without wudu. But if he does not make wudu, if he does not have wudu, and he says that wudu is not an obligation, I can make salah without wudu, then he is a kafir. Why? Because he makes something wajib, non-wajib. So he removes the ruling of Allah and His Prophet, and that is an act of kufr. And that is in many things. If I deal with haram business and I acknowledge that this is haram, I am a fasiq. But if I say no, riba, just people say, but riba loan is not haram, that's a kufr. That's a disbelief. And the list goes on. A person who drinks alcohol, which is very bad, and he knows this is haram, he's a fasiq, he's a bad Muslim. But if he says, no, alcohol is not haram, it's just drunkenness is haram, people try to, that's a kufr, that's an act of disbelief. That's what he means by saying, وَمَنْ صَلَّى بِغَيْرِ وُضُوءٍ عَامِدًا فَهُوَ كَافِرٌ وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. صلى الله تبارك وتعالى أن يفتح علينا فتوحات العارفين وأن يجعل هذا رمضان متقبلا ويبارك فينا وفيكم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. بسم الله.